Hey fiber friends, welcome to the Botanical Knitter Vlogcast. I'm Emily, I'm a knitter, spinner, sometimes natural dyer, sometimes sewer, and I live in Minneapolis, Minnesota. You can find me on Instagram as The Botanical Knitter and on Ravelry as Botanical Knitter. Everything I talk about in this episode is going to be listed below in the video description, and I'll also link to my Ravelry page. Today's episode is all about the whips. Things that have been languishing on my needles, things that I cast on right before the end of the year, things that I'm not sure what I'm going to do, all of it. We're going to run through it together. I'm going to need your feedback on a few things. This is my chance to hold myself accountable, but also to process the sheer amount of whips that I have. I think I have 8 whips right now, which is a lot for me. I know for some people that's not a lot. For a lot of people, that is a lot. 8 is too much for me, and it's like hurting my brain a little bit, so I need to clean these needles off. I also do have some FOs to share. I do have some acquisitions to share. I do have a new book that I just got in the mail that I'll share. But it's a lot of whip talk today. It's a lot of whip talk. All right, first things first, what I'm wearing. I've worn this before, so if you've heard this spiel, I apologize. If you haven't, this is the Love Note sweater by Tin Can Knits. You're like, Emily, it's not a love note. It is. I left the lace out. I did everything but modify for the lace. And then the sleeves I knit, and I did a rapid decrease right before the cuff. Did both short rows. Love the fit. It really grew. The lace is fine. Like, not being there is fine. It did, I don't know if you can see, it definitely has a little bit of rippling through the top, but it doesn't bother me that much. And also, I think it's okay because the yarn I used is slub and fingering weight, and so it's naturally got these little lumpy bits in the shawl, and I think it adds to the texture. Not shawl, sweater. Still adds to the texture. All right, that's what I'm wearing. My first finished object is a pair of socks. I knit a lot of socks at the end of the year. I knit both my Advent socks. I knit a pair for my mom. I knit a pair for my mother-in-law. And then I finished these, and I'm already feeling burnt out on socks. So I think that's what happened in 2022 to 2023. I knit too many socks at the end of the year, and then I didn't want to touch them for the whole year. However, these have been on my needles since September of 2023. I started these while I was in Puerto Rico. And then I just stopped working on them for a couple of reasons. Mostly because they're supposed to be for my husband and they ended up not fitting his feet. So then I felt guilty and I was going to rip them out. And then I was like, why would I rip out a pair of socks that are 60% done? That feels silly. My husband was not that desperate for these socks, so they became mine. So this pattern is the Wise Hilda's ribbed sock, or the basic ribbed sock. It's a 3x1 rib. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. I wouldn't knit this pattern again. It's a free pattern, so that's cool. It's overly complicated. I do not love the heel. And it was just kind of a cluttered pattern for a 3x1, and I don't know why it was so cluttered. Just my personal preference. So there's plenty of other ribbed socks out there that I have in my library that I paid for that I will knit instead. However, they're done. The yarn is from Teenybutton. It is the Tears of the Kingdom of the Tears, whatever the new Zelda game is. My husband loves it. I have never played it. It is inspired by the new cover of the Zelda video game, which is why I bought them for Chris. But now they're mine. So that was the first thing that had been on my needles for a long time that I finished right at the beginning of the new year. So that felt good to get those done. They fit great. And that's that. Okay, whip time. I'm trying to decide how I want to do this flow. So let's start first with garments, and then we'll move to socks, and then accessories like shawls. Great. So the first project on my needles, that has been on my needles for a while, is the Miel vest by Cassie LaFollette. And I started this in September in a COVID haze. I did a lot of work on it in a couple of days, and then I stopped working on it. It is beautiful. It is squishy. It is my hand spun yarn. I'm clearly not blending it, but I don't care. The texture looks so nice with my hand spun yarn. It's bottom up. It has this cute little split hem. It has this nice detail up the side. However, it is going to be too big on me. I can tell already it's too big. And we don't want another Tecumseh. So I'm going to frog this one, I think. I had made it just to where I had split for front and for back. But you know what? It's not worth it. Especially because it's my handspun. It feels so precious. I'm going to rip it out, wrap it, rewind it, and probably put it in timeout for now. And I will come back to this pattern. I find the pattern enjoyable. I like the texture. It is Tahitian vanilla. Somebody, oh, sorry, I have mohair or dog hair. Could be anything. Tahitian vanilla. So not just like basic vanilla, but it has a little bit of flair to it. So it's not completely mindless, but super memorizable. Oh yeah, look at this folded in half. Okay. So great pattern. Highly recommend it. But I'm going to frog it. And that's okay. Right? Oh, that feels weird. Anyways, it's in my beautiful sister project bag. Obsessed. It matches my sweater. Okay. Next pattern that has been languishing for a hot second is my sea glass. This is another pattern by Tin Can Knits. It is a pattern that I have admired for so long. Every time I see it, I'm like, oh, that's a looker. However, mine is tiny. And I gauge swatched. I think it's just a matter of like my attention being super anxious, potentially. I started this in May or June of 2023, worked on it off and on throughout the summer, and then stopped. So it's beautiful. I think it's stunning. The main color is from Lavender Lune. Most of the minis are from Lavender Lune. It's on Stellina. It's a Stellina yarn. I'm not sure if you can see the sparkles. I am holding one color throughout, and then I'm alternating between a warm color and a cool color. I'm really happy with how it looked. It just looks small to me. So, and I like I said, I swatched and everything. So I am going to probably not frog this for a couple of reasons. I was doing the magic knot method for my color changes, which you can see right there. There's that decrease through here. And I was using the fray check to keep it from unwinding. Here's the back. You can see the back a little bit better. There. So I was using fray check. So I would have to cut everything. So unraveling all of this is not going to happen. And I also don't want to do the thing where I'm like, well, maybe if I lose weight, it'll fit me, because that's toxic, right? We all know that. We've all probably played that game with ourselves, and it's toxic. But I love it. So I think this is just going to stay in my project bag for a while. All of the yarn is just a bunch of scraps that aren't being used for anything else. It's easy enough for me to pick up and remember where I was because I split for sleeves. So it's just finishing the body and then picking up sleeves and doing the ribbing. It would be a short sleeve sea glass. So it's going to sit in timeout for a while, and maybe it'll fit me. Maybe I'll be inspired to give it to someone. Maybe I save it for a child, future child. Who knows? But this one's causing me a little stress just because I was so excited to work on the pattern, and I'm kind of disappointed by it. But you know what? We'll see. Maybe it will fit, and I'm just taking too close of a look at it. So all of the scraps are in this really naughty knitting sack. Oops. And it all just fits in here and is staying here. So I guess the final answer on the sea glass is timeout for a while. Have you knit a sea glass? Did you have sizing issues? Is it a me issue? Which could very easily be a me issue. Okay, fit, check, show, and tell. I put my sea glass on, and it's actually not bad. I think it's wearable. I think blocking will help the collar grow a little bit. It is not too terribly tight. I forget, I think the pattern is supposed to have negative ease or just a little bit of positive ease, and this fits. What I'm going to do is maybe do a couple rounds of increases for the rest of the body just to give it a little bit of room through my bust, and then I think I'll be happy with it. I mean, it's really pretty. All right, see, this is what we needed. Don't make assumptions. Try the thing on. It'll be fine. clearly room for growth there for me as a knitter. All right, well, maybe she won't sit in timeout forever. Maybe around springtime when I want to cast on everything to knit a spring summer top, this will be it because it's basically a quarter of the way done. Well, that was exciting. Okay, let's move on to socks. I finished the sock that I told you about earlier, the rib sock. The second sock that has been on my needles for a really long time is the Totally Rad Rib Sock by Summer Lee. And it's ridiculous that I haven't finished because I have one sock done that I finished in August at Flock in Seattle. Finished this one, love the fit. The yarn is Apple Pie by Silly Goose Yarns. It was part of her desserts collection. It was a sock set. And the second one, I just need to put in a heel, do the decreases, do the foot and the toes. It'll be done in a couple of days. The yarn's all ready to go. Just waiting for it to be put back on the needles. So this one is finished before January ends because I think this is a good contender for that January WIPdown that Juliana at Purl Forward Backward, I can't remember her Instagram name, is hosting. It's WIPdown January 2024, and the idea of it is just to really focus in January on the whips, not really cast on anything new, get the things off your needles. So this feels like a really good thing for that. I know I'm gonna wear them. I know there's not a sizing issue, and I'm 50% done with the second sock. The things that, do you do this? Do you like get squirrel distracted by something else and then cast something else on? I don't know. I used to not do this the first couple of years of knitting. And then because I think I started these in June too, when I like cast on everything and then got distracted, did too many test knits, yada, yada. It is what it is. All right. And these are in a beautiful sister bag, the Heather bag in camo, because I don't hunt, but I love camo. Explain that to me. Maybe it's just the Midwest gal in me coming out. So those socks, the Totally Rad socks, I plan to finish those in the next month in January just to be done with it. All right, shawl time. So the first shawl that I have had on my needles since October of 2023 is the Perfectionist Trap Shawl by Kacey Herlihy. It is in my That Crafty Fox bag. Also, how cool, this bag looks so small, but this big shawl fits in it. So I cast this on as part of Casey's knit along, the fall knit along. And the main colorway here is Moody Pumpkin by Woolberry Fiber Co. And yesterday I picked it up and said, okay, this could be another one that I finished during the January WIPdown. But it wasn't big enough for me using just the 2 skeins of DK. I had knit one before, it was too small. I have to tie it like a bandana rather than wrap it. And I love the pattern so much and that keeps me from wearing it. So I wanted a shawl that I could wrap around. And so I decided to add a 3rd skein and to do a little bit of color blending before I transitioned to the full color. So about here, I had 30 grams left of my main color, the Woolberry, and then I started to just transition and fade pretty randomly, alternating how many rows I did between color 1 and color 2. And now I have fully transitioned to color 2, which is Knotty Pine. Nutmeg, I believe, is the colorway. This has been sitting in my stash for a long time. And so it felt good to finally use this up. I'm happy with how the fade is looking. And it's definitely going to be bigger. The pattern is written for 2 skeins of DK. I'm typically a loose knitter, so I went down 2 needle sizes, but, oh, sorry if that was loud. But I like it already. The fit's gonna be a lot better. So I'm just gonna knit till I run out of this. I did this much in just a couple hours of Top Chef yesterday, so I feel pretty confident I can also finish this one in January as part of the WIPdown. I have a renewed energy for working with it. I just love this pattern. I think the slip stitch looks so nice, and it's fun because I get to use a bunch of stitch markers to indicate where the pattern needs special attention, and so that's always fun to see all your stitch markers out there, including my Real Housewives stitch marker. Is it gonna focus? Yeah. From Twin Mountain Handcrafts. So this one, if you haven't knit this pattern, it's great. If you have 2 skeins in your stash, even if they're 2 colors that go together, you can do the blend thing, but with just 2 skeins. My friend Courtney at Silly Goose Yarns did a Perfectionist Trap kit, and she used 2 colors, and that's where I got this idea from. So this one I've been working on lately and enjoying it. All right, the next shawl, I have shame over. Let me grab it. Okay, so this shawl was from a mystery knit along. It was the Casapinka Sharon Air knit along. I started this in August of 2022, and I have not touched it since August of 2022. It is in, what project bag is this? This Handmade Life, and it's beautiful. But I, at this point, have stopped working on it because I'm not sure I could find where I was in the pattern, because it's a complicated pattern. But isn't the yarn so cool? So it uses 4 colors, and it's an interesting shape. So now it's going into this, almost the wings off of the main triangle shape. And so this is on hold because I needed the cords and needles, and then I put this one on hold because I needed the cords and needles. So eventually I need to remember where I was in the pattern and pick it back up. I want to finish this one because I think I'll like the shape. I feel like the shape is really wearable. I honestly don't remember what the finished version looks like because obviously the mystery knit along is long done. But I like the texture, so definitely not a mindless knit. Let's see if I can remember the yarn I was using. This is from the dyer formerly known as Fangirl Fibers, but not Fangirl Emily in Wisconsin, in northern Michigan. I can't remember the colorway name. This has been in my stash for a while. I think this is just a bare skein of something. And then I have 2 skeins from Coast to Coast that are so pretty. And it all goes really well together. So honestly, for a mystery knit along, I'm really happy with how it's going. I think I just stopped working on it because I got distracted by deadlines for test knits, because that's a common theme for all of this, is got distracted by a test knit that I randomly signed up for. And there's no reason why I shouldn't finish it. Now, I don't think this is gonna get finished by January, but honestly, I probably should make it one that I have to finish by January because it's been on my needles for so long. And I know mentally I will feel such relief being done with this. Like, not having it sitting in my basket will just feel so good. So I don't know, maybe I should prioritize this. That's the other thing, right? Keeps falling down, down, down on the list. Okay, I think that doesn't feel right. Oh, one more garment, sorry. My Field Day Cardi by Ozetta. This one I definitely talked about on earlier podcast episodes. It is a very fun pattern. I've enjoyed knitting it. I'm using cotton fluff from Lavender Lune. It's so squishy. Like, that's exactly how squishy it is. But I think it's gonna be huge. I had to do some sweater math to match my gauge from my swatch for another project that wasn't gonna work. So I thought, okay, I'll find another pattern where I like the look, and I'll search for it for gauge using the Ravelry search tool. And I still couldn't find one that I liked. So then I found a YouTube video to help me figure out, okay, based off of what my gauge is and the size of the pattern, what size should I knit? But it just feels like it's gonna be really large, which I guess is better for a cardigan because I can still wear a t-shirt underneath and whatever. But the Tecumseh had me so freaked out. I'll pause here. If you haven't watched my Everything I Knit in 2023 video, my Tecumseh is ginormous. And I just am really nervous it'll happen again, even though I keep checking my gauge. And this one's a little harder to try on because it's so far along and there's so many cords, right? So for this, I have split for sleeves and I'm doing the button band as I go. So I can't decide if I rip it out or if I keep working on it. I'm enjoying the knit. I'm not too far along where it's like, oh, I have to rip it out, but I also can't decide. Maybe once I'm done, I'll put on a t-shirt and I'll put it on cords and I'll model and I'll drop it in here. All right, show and tell number 2 is the field day cardi. I think I know the answer, but I'm curious to see what you all think. I think it's a frog. I think it's too big. I love how it looks. I like the button band, but this is already just one side crossed over, the other side crossed over. It's hard to tell because I just split for sleeves, but let me flip the camera. All right, here we are. So it's on cords. It's pretty wide. So I'm holding my arm way out, my armpits right here, and there's still that much fabric. And same here. I think it's too big I want an oversized cardigan, but not that oversized. And I think this would be too big, right? Because look, right? I should frog it and find another cardigan. Okay, so this is cotton fluff. It's big, it's bulky together. What cardigan should I knit instead? That's my new question. So the rest of the podcast, when I keep saying, tell me, what should I do? We've decided I should frog this, right? 1. And then 2, what should I knit instead? Okay. I'm phoning a friend. I'm phoning you for help. And this is in my Barley Pearls library bag, my favorite project bag. Okay. Well, I got through that a lot quicker than I thought I would. Huh. All right. The only other whip that I brought into the new year with me is not a languishing whip. It is something I cast on during Vlogmas, if you followed along with Vlogmas, and it is the Classic by Espace Tricot. I am obsessed with this one. So since I last checked in on the vlogcast with this one, I have split for sleeves. Oh, it's so pretty. And now I'm just working on the body, and I work on this for about 9 more inches, and then I'll do the sleeves. And this one I'm forcing myself to not work on because I have these other whips that have been on my needles a lot longer and a bit more pressing, but really all I want to do is work on this one. It's so soft. It is fingering held with Surrey from Explore Knits. The colorway is Gnome Cottage. I picked it up at Flock Fiber Festival in Seattle, and it makes me happy. I think maybe this is where I was last time you saw it on a podcast episode. It is a beer stitch marker from Twin Mountain Handcrafts, along with, here's the other part of the set, it says Emily. That's me. And that is in my Woodsy and Wild project bag that I've had for a while. So yeah, have to actively not allow myself to work on this one because I know I'm gonna feel better when I either frog these things or finish them. So yeah. Okay, those are the whips. That feels good. Acquisitions? All right, first off, even though I told myself no more mystery packs because 80% of the time I'm disappointed by what I get in a mystery pack, I ordered a mystery pack, and I ordered it from Knitting Lizard Fibers. Liz is the dyer. Liz lives here in the Twin Cities and is a friend of mine. So that always is like, wow, I should support Liz. Also, Liz knows my color palette, and so I was like, anything Liz is gonna send me, I bet it's gonna be fabulous. There's not a yarn that Liz has dyed that I don't love. So I ordered the Surrey mystery pack, or the baby yak lace pack, and it's 41% baby alpaca Surrey, 13% merino, 10% yak, 35% silk. And the colorway is, this is from the Witcher collection, Brookloin, I don't know. Green, hello, duh. Emily loves a green, but it's got little bits of brown in it and yellow. And then Roach, which is a really lovely chocolate mousse color. And then I got the tweed fingering 4-pack, knowing I could make a sweater. And I'm not disappointed. So I'm gonna take it out so you can see. So I got 3 skeins of the colorway Roach. So the same as on the Baby Surrey Yak, but this one is on the BFL Tweed Sock. So 85% BFL, 15% Neps, 438 yards. So I got 3 skeins of this. And that's pretty true to color. It's a little bit more tan in this light. It's more of a chocolatey color. There, that looks true. So I think it's pretty, especially with the Tweedy bits. And then the contrast color that came with it, same base, is White Wolf. And I love the two together. I don't know what I'm gonna make. I feel like this obviously has to be a colorwork sweater. So if you have your favorite fingering colorwork sweater, let me know what it is. But I'm excited for it. This is not too close to my flesh tone, which I enjoy. I think it's gonna be pretty. So no rush to knit with this. It will sit in my stash, but I'm really happy with it. So I feel like I took a gamble on the mystery pack and I won. All right, the other acquisition I got is from Nomadic Yarns. It's self-striping yarn and the colorway is Book Boyfriend. I just had to. It is the 50-gram sock, which I really like. 75% merino, 25% nylon. Self-striping beautifulness. Greens, blues, purples. It's gonna be great. So this will probably be a spring cast on. Session starts in February and I almost always have a sock in my bag for the capital when I'm just sitting around and waiting for nonsense to happen. And so that might be the thing I look forward to casting on because I like the self-striping. Is that it? It's only been 25 minutes and that is really all I have. Well, who knew? Maybe, because I feel like I should just keep talking to you because we've only been talking for 25 minutes. Knitting intentions for 2024, perhaps. I didn't do a make 9 this year. It didn't serve me last year. I knit about half of the things. I replaced the other half. I changed my mind on a couple of things. So instead I was like, I'm going to make a grid for my whips as like a way to inspire myself to knit all of these whips that I've been working on. And it worked, right? Like taking pictures of them, putting the whips in new project bags, changing the stitch markers, like that has new excitement to me because I love project bags and stitch markers almost as much as I love knitting. Like I find excitement and I have a good collection of stitch markers and project bags if you can't tell. So that helped with that refresh. But I was like, there's too many patterns that I want to knit. There's too much yarn that I want to knit. So instead I have intentions around yarn that's been sitting in my stash that I want to work on. I have some beautiful Surrey that I want to use. I have beautiful yarn from Teresa at Get Bents that I want to knit with. I have fiber that has been sitting in my stash that I want to spin. So instead it's just really focused on using up my stash, but not being afraid to buy more stash. Like if I want to buy yarn, I will buy yarn. That being said, January is a no spend month for me. It is day 8. And I haven't bought anything. And that is clothes, yarn, makeup, jewelry, whatever, right? No reckless, unnecessary spending. And honestly, it's hard. I do have a little bit of a spending problem that like when I'm stressed or happy or I see a sale, like that capitalist tendency to purchase is strong with me. And so I'm going to celebrate every moment that I can, that I haven't spent money and I'm sticking to it. So that was kind of my other intention, at least for the start of the year, is like work on the whips, not spend money on things that I don't need to spend money on, work through my stash, feel happy about my stash. I also want to, at some point, to go through and reorganize my stash and make sure everything's in Ravelry. People do a really cool job. Bed Knitter has the spreadsheet that they've created that lots of you have used. Knit California did a really cool like data heavy recap on their knitting year. I don't see myself using that. So I just use Ravelry. So then that way I know exactly how many yards are left. I can attach it to a project page because I am good about putting my projects in Ravelry. So at some point I have an intention to go in and do that. And I also think I might start posting or like just doing in my Instagram story every day, showing my outfit when I do wear something I knit. I have so many beautiful knit objects that I don't always reach for, and I don't know if it's because I'm afraid that they'll get holes in them like this one already did from my dog's nail, or what it is, but I do like the idea of tracking what knitwear I'm wearing, how I'm styling it, and I think that will inform future making for me. Like, do I like how a fiber feels? Do I like the shape of a raglan versus a yoke? Those kinds of things. Knit California tracked the percentage of times she wore a hand knit garment or object, and I liked that. So that I might take into the new year with me. And so if you see on Instagram, maybe I'll start posting every day in my story what I wore. And maybe I'll start doing them as shorts, like a weekly recap short, YouTube short with my outfits. Is that interesting to people? I always love, like, my favorite part about festivals besides seeing people is seeing what people are wearing and getting inspiration from that. So maybe I will do that. All right, well, that's all I have. I just hustled through those whips. I guess I pretty much had my mind made up on everything except for that field day cardigan. So this is my last plea. What should I do? All right, well, I hope wherever you are well, and I will check in with you next time.